Whenever Taco Bell releases a new item, I always get really excited and I want to try it. So I was stoked to try the chicken Crispinada, and then I was immediately let down. It was just not as good as I want it to be. I wanted to set out and make a much better version of that dish because I love empanadas. If you were a fan of the Crispinada, you know it's already gone, but fear not. By the end of this video, you're gonna be able to whip up a much better version of the Crispinada. We'll start with the chicken. It's gonna be super tender, super spiced braised chicken. Thinly slice 1 white onion and remove the skin from 4 cloves of garlic. I'll also remove the tops and seeds from 6 New Mexican chilies. I really love these and they're kind of my go-to dried chilies. They're deep, not too hot, and cook up really, really nice. At the stove, heat a large pot over medium-high heat so we can start our braise. Usually you'd want to get some color on the main protein in a braise, but I actually think chicken thighs may not be right for that. Every time I brown them before a braise, they end up a little bit too stringy in the end. Instead of the chicken, I'm going to add a little cooking oil and then the onions. Let these soften and begin to brown. Usually about 5 minutes or so is good. These aren't gonna be caramelized. I like them how I normally make them for fajitas, that kind of softened but still crunchy. Add in your garlic cloves and let those sit in the heat with the onions for just a couple minutes, and then add enough water to scrape up any brown bits stuck on the bottom. Now you can add your de-seeded chilies, 2 chipotles from a little can, and a package of boneless skinless chicken thigh. Mine are usually about 1.5 pounds when I get them at the store. Season this with a few large pinches of salt, a bunch of cracked black pepper, cumin, oregano, coriander, and I don't see anything wrong with a little garlic powder. Add in enough water to just make sure that the chicken is covered, and then bring this up to a simmer. Once that's happened, lower the temperature to low and cover the pot. We're gonna let this cook for around 40 minutes or until the chicken is tender and unctuous without being stringy. While that cooks, we can work on our dough. I'm gonna use my empanada dough recipe from my green chili empanada video. To a large bowl, add in 450 grams of all-purpose flour and 5 grams of salt. Give those a mix with your hands and then add 50 grams of cold lard. Use your fingers to break the lard into tiny pea-sized pieces. It's helpful to just squeeze the lard between your fingers and you'll get these like flat layers. To the flour and lard, add in 200 mils of cold water mixed with 5 mils of white vinegar. Essentially, we're making a pie dough, which means we don't wanna overwork this mixture. Make sure that this just comes together in a bowl into like a shaggy dough, and then we're gonna finish mixing this when we roll it out. Cover the dough and set it in the fridge so we can finish the filling. Once the chicken is tender and falls apart, remove it from the pot and set it aside to cool. With the chicken cool enough to handle, pull it apart and remove any bits of fat that aren't gonna be good for the final Crispinada. To create the most flavorful, juicy filling, we need to let the braising liquid cool and then blend it to create a luscious sauce to coat our chicken. Blend the sauce until smooth and then run it through a sieve and you have this beautiful, tangy chili sauce that's honestly way better than Taco Bell deserves. Return this to the stove and reduce it over medium-low until it's thickened and reduced by about half. Taste your sauce for seasoning and add in a pinch of salt or sugar as needed. Now, if you were just meal prepping shredded chicken, you could throw all your chicken in the sauce and call it a day. But Taco Bell's filling is like half cheese, so I need to account for that. Place your cooled chicken in a bowl and mix in about 1 to 2 ladles of your reduced sauce. Add in a couple handfuls of shredded mild cheddar cheese along with a couple pieces of broken up American cheese. Don't tell anybody, but this is what gives it the texture of like melted nacho cheese that's really nice and is probably pretty similar to what Taco Bell is doing. Mix that until fully combined and set it aside so we can roll out our empanada dough. At the same time, fill a pot with oil to about 1/3 of the way up and get that heating over medium until it's up to about 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Place your dough on a floured surface and knead it slightly so the shaggy dough comes together. This dough is enough for 16 Crispinadas, so cut the dough into quarters and then work on each quarter one at a time while the others stay covered. Cut the quarter into 4 even pieces and then roll them out pretty thin, but not tortilla thin. Think maybe 1/8 of an inch here. These are gonna puff up slightly in the oil, but you don't want them thin enough to explode or break. Place roughly 2 tablespoons of the cooled filling in each one. To seal them, use a little water around the edge and then fold it in half. Try to keep your filling on only 1/2 of these and that'll make it a lot easier. Use a fork to crimp the edges so they are totally sealed and you can continue working through them until you're out of filling or dough. For Taco Bell, they managed to get these things super crispy and crunchy, which is a little tougher at home because you best believe they're dunking it in a deep fryer, which we're not gonna have. For us, in our little Dutch oven fryer setup, these are gonna rise, so we're gonna need to hold them down when they're in the oil. 3 to 4 is best for a size like this so they don't overcrowd the pan and super drop the temperature. Keep an eye on it, make sure it's around 375, and cook these until deeply golden brown. 3 minutes aside is usually what I aim for these. We're emulating something called the Crispinada, so these things need to be crazy crispy. Continue working through all those. You don't have to build 16 empanadas and then take them all over to the fryer at the same time. You can kind of work in batches as long as you keep an eye on your fryer temperature. Now these are insanely delicious, definitely crispy, and super well seasoned from the braised chicken. So if you've been missing that crispinada with the crunchy outer shell and that like cheesy chicken interior, this is gonna be exactly what you wanna make. It totally hits that craving and then some. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. Massive shout out to the amazing people supporting me directly on Patreon through patreon.com/CameronMarty. They get some cool benefits for supporting the channel, and I get to keep making videos like this. Thanks again for watching. Cheers.